Has your Canadian visa application been refused? Don't panic. There is a way to fight back, and it's usually simpler than what you think. And yes, I know it's really frustrating, and I've had a lot of clients whose visa has been refused. I know it's really stressful, but don't worry, we're gonna fix it together. Hi, I'm Morteza, a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, and welcome to Visa Mondial YouTube channel. Today, I'm here to walk you through a useful option that is called reconsideration. It can help you get your visa. In this video, you learn exactly what a reconsideration request is, how to craft a letter, and how to send it to Immigration Canada. Stick around, I'm going to give you some real-life examples, and I'm going to give you the tools you will need to write your reconsideration request and send it to Immigration Canada. This might be your ticket to Canada. Now, what is a reconsideration request? When your visa is refused and you believe the officer made an obvious mistake, like obvious factual or legal errors, you can submit a reconsideration request. This isn't a formal appeal. It's usually like a friendly nudge to the same officer who assessed your application. You're basically asking them to take another look at the information you already submitted in your application. No new documents, no new information could be added to your reconsideration application. It's basically based on what you have already submitted to Immigration Canada. Nothing new can be added. It is all about showing the officer that they have made an obvious error or mistake in your application. All right, let's talk about when sending a reconsideration request might actually help you out and you might be able to get your visa. Okay, so here's what you need to know. First, grab your refusal letter. It's like an invitation to the party that you didn't want to go, but you have to go. Second, timing matters. You've got to know that you have 30 days after your refusal letter lands in your mail. So you have 30 days to send that letter out. If you miss it, you're not going to be able to do it. And finally, the officer's decision has to have a real mistake, like a factual or legal error. This is a big part of your request. Maybe they missed a document or they didn't quite get your situation right. Let me give you an example from one of my cases. One of my clients got rejected because the officer said that she didn't have enough ties to her home country, and the officer questioned the purpose of the visit. But honestly, the decision was pretty unfair and unreasonable. It wasn't just a mistake, it was a big overlook that really impacted the future of my client. The officer in this application completely missed some key information, like the fact that this lady had family back in Iran and she had a stable job waiting for her back in Iran. So these all were clearly explained in the letter of explanation that I had attached to her application. And the reason she wanted to visit Canada, her husband was studying in Canada, so she wanted to go and visit her husband. So all the facts were laid out in our submission and everything was clear. This is exactly the kind of situation you would want to send a letter of reconsideration. And that's exactly what I did. Long story short, we, with my team, pointed out the errors using case laws. And guess what? Her application got reconsidered. And now she's in Canada with her husband, living her best life in Vancouver. All right, let's go to the good stuff. Writing a strong reconsideration request letter. This letter is everything. It's your chance to persuade the officer with powerful arguments to take another look at your case. A well-written reconsideration request letter is your most powerful tool, as I said. And there are 5 key points you'll want to include in your letter. Let's go through them one by one. Start off by respectfully addressing the immigration officer. Thank them for reviewing your case and clearly state that you are asking for reconsideration. You can see an example of this part of this letter on the screen, which we wrote for a client. If you have a representative, usually they will introduce their own company or their history, and they will include it in this letter. List the reasons for refusal in bullet points, because no one wants to read a big block of text. Try to do it like a kind of user-friendly style. This shows you understand what they are concerned about. Challenge the reasons. This is the heart of your letter. Politely but firmly address each reason and explain why it's wrong. Then back up your points with the original evidence. Here is where the case laws come in. There are past court decisions. They work as like a kind of solid proof to back up your claim. For example, in one of my cases, the officers denied the client application because they said she didn't have enough family ties outside Canada. But the officer missed some important facts and documents, so I included the relevant case laws in our reconsideration request letter to support the argument. So you can find all these case laws in a website which is called CanLII, and you can search by the court name and then you can find case law which is relevant to what you want. And the good news is CanLII is totally free and everyone can access it. Showing how similar situations were handled could really help you win your case. So finding the right case law could be a little bit tricky. You need to understand Canada's immigration law to do that. That's where an experienced immigration lawyer or representative can really come and help you and find you the best case laws that relate to your case. Let me give you another example of my clients. We challenged an officer's decision because they misunderstood the status of the accompanying family member of one of my clients. My client applied for an open work permit to join her husband. Her husband was studying in Canada. He was on a valid study permit. Her daughter also applied for a study permit to travel with her. So the mother and daughter are in Iran. Father, the husband, is in Canada studying. But when the daughter's study permit was refused, the officer mistakenly rejected my client's open work permit, which is the mother's open work permit too. They didn't realize that my client was joining her husband in Canada, the actual study permit holder, not the daughter. So it means mother wanted to join the husband. So why are you rejecting mother and the daughter together? So we pointed out this obvious mistake and used specific case laws to provide our claim. Talk about your ties to your home country, like family, like a job, financial situation, and etc. If you're applying for a temporary visa, stress your intent to return home. You want to show you're a responsible visitor and you will just leave Canada at the end of your stay. And don't forget to provide proof of everything you mentioned. And at the end, finish the letter up by politely recapping your request for reconsideration. Thank the officer again and sign off respectfully. Keep it clear and concise. I think being polite and to the point goes a long way in making a good impression. Be polite, short, and concise. Now, the big question: how do you submit this masterpiece of a letter? So this involves 6 steps. I'm gonna outline them for you here. First, you'll want to see why your application was refused. This is where you put on your detective hat and find the errors in your refusal decision. Was there any mistake in how the officer evaluated your case? Maybe they failed to see a public policy that applied to you. Or maybe they ignored some facts, some important facts in your application. Maybe they were not reasonable in their decision. Maybe they were not fair in their decision. You pinpoint any factual or legal error to clarify your eligibility. Is the decision fair? If you've got time, request GCMS notes. GCMS notes or ATIP notes are notes that you have to request from Immigration Canada, and they usually take around 30 to 90 days to receive them. So you should see if you're gonna be within that 30 days deadline or you're gonna pass the deadline. So be careful, you don't want to pass the deadline. For sending a reconsideration request, you have 30 days. So most of the times you might be wanting to go without having a GCMS note. Then gather all the documents you have already submitted. No new evidence is allowed. So stick to what you've already submitted to Immigration Canada. Now it comes to the fun part, writing your reconsideration request letter. This is your chance to convince the officer to make a second look. Channel your inner lawyer and get writing. You can use previous part to write a strong letter. If you're feeling a bit unsure about how to tackle this, don't hesitate to get some professional help. Professional people can help you. We have helped thousands of people to get their Canadian visa, even after the visa was refused, so we can help you too. All right, let's do the paperwork. It's time to pull everything together to create your reconsideration request package. You will need your refusal letter, your supporting documents, and your reconsideration request letter, all in one neat package. You want to send them electronically or you want to send them by paper. So if you have the officer's note, that's even better. Finally, it's time to send it off. Submit your package via the IRCC web form and sometimes via a mail. Send it to the specific visa office that previously handled your application. For example, if you are a Pakistani, it's likely Abu Dhabi is the office that you want to send it to. If you are Iranian, you probably want to send it to Ankara. So you can find all these addresses on the website of Canada Immigration. You can see where they usually send your application depending on where you're applying from. And the best part, there is no fee to submit your reconsideration request. So what happens when you hit that send button? Well, it's a waiting game from here on out. You have to wait and wait. Immigration officers will review your request, hopefully, and if they agree, your application may be reopened for another assessment. If all goes well, voila, they may overturn your decision and grant you a visa. And remember, success isn't guaranteed. You've got some other options like reapplying or going to a judicial review, which are discussed in details in other videos that you can find somewhere and click. Think of it as a kind of video game. Sometimes you lose a life, but the game isn't over. Okay, before you hit that submit button, let's quickly see the advantages and disadvantages here. Okay, first let's talk about the positive things in our life. Advantages. It's usually faster than reapplying. So writing a reconsideration letter, sending it, and then getting the result is faster usually, right? And is for sure faster than going to Federal Court of Canada for an appeal. A successful reconsideration can improve your immigration record by removing the previous rejections. So when you do the reconsideration and you get the positive response, there is no rejection anymore in your file. And finally, it's free, and free feels good. But remember, when something is free, it's worth thinking twice before you use it. And on the flip side, disadvantages are like the success rate isn't particularly really high in reconsideration requests. With advances in technology and AI helping officers assess your applications, mistakes are becoming less common. So think about it. There is also no guarantee of response. I have had clients that they have never even get back to them. So you might send your reconsideration request and wait for a year and no one gets back to you. So that's the dangerous part, you know? And officers have their full discretion to decide if they want to review your request, and sometimes you might not get any response from them. And finally, no new evidence is allowed. So if there are some parts in your application which are not filed like kind of the best way, you cannot add any more documents. So you're stuck on what you have submitted previously to the Immigration Canada. So if you think you can add better documents, it's better to submit a new application. And that is the whole story. So if you have faced an unfair or unreasonable refusal because of an obvious mistake, don't just sit back. Act now. Review your case, draft a letter, and give it a shot. Just remember to act fast because you have a 30-day window to apply. If you're feeling stuck and you don't know what to do and you want some professional advice, we are here to help you. Write in the comments below, write your situation. We'll just answer your comments and give you some advice, and or you might want to book a consultation session with one of my team members, and we'll be there to help you. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do not forget to subscribe.